Hello there, Internet. My name is Low Quality, Low Qual for short, and today I'm going to be showing everyone my addiction, that being the 6 gacha games that I'm playing. And in this video, you're going to be seeing me doing dailies in those gacha games as I give light commentary on my opinion of those gacha games. So, let's get started. Oh, Genshin Impact. Not my first gacha game, but it is one that managed to keep me sticking around. When I first started playing it, it was around mid to late 1.2, early 1.3, around Xiao's banner, and I was immediately hooked the moment I got my hands on the game and started playing it. I was so addicted to this game, you have no idea. And I've got a lot of things that I want to thank Genshin for, but I think the main thing that I want to thank Genshin for would be the impact, no pun intended, that it had on the gacha gaming sphere. That being, well, Genshin is now the new bar of quality, the new standard for gacha games and their quality. And I gotta thank Genshin for that, because without Genshin, games like Neverness to Everness, Wuthering Waves, Arknight's Enfield, so on and so forth, those games would not exist if it wasn't for Genshin's release and its impact, no pun intended, on the gacha gaming sphere. And that's like one of the biggest pros that I can think of with Genshin. Other than that, there isn't really much else that I can say about it that other people haven't already said. Like, I guess I can talk about what I personally would want Genshin to add and want Genshin to have. I'm a bit of an endgame player, so artifact loadouts. That's all I want, really. MiHoYo, please. Just artifact loadouts. And also the ability to mark 5-star artifacts as trash, just similar to Star Rail. Please, your other games have it. Why can't you just retroactively add it to Genshin? It shouldn't be that hard, right? Well, anyways, my gripes about this game's quality of life aside, I think that Genshin is a very high quality game that is completely free for you to download and has a lot of content that you can experience and go through. The only real price that you have to pay is your time. For me personally, I feel like the time I spent here was well worth it. I didn't felt like the time that I spent playing Genshin was ever or is ever wasted at all. I don't regret anything. Punishing Grey Raven. This game, I kind of struggled to stick with it for a long time, but especially at launch, because, well, if you know anything about PGR's history, you'd know about the terrible launch that Kuro had. But then afterwards, I waited for there to be more updates released, and after the whole kerfuffle that is this game's launch, it got better, and I started enjoying the game. Now, one of the things that a lot of people can think of when they think PGR is the story, that being the fact that the story is really good. Only when you reach chapter 8, because chapter 1 to 7, well, it does a good job at setting the rules and doing a little bit of world building, but it's not that good. It's very mid as in middling, not bad. So my advice is, if you are going to be playing this game and you're new, skip chapter 1 to 7, look up a recap video that recaps PGR's chapter 1 to 7, and then read chapter 8 and beyond. And another advice for new players is to grind the SP dump event. Basically, every update there will be this specific event that you can dump all of your SP in, and when you clear it, you get the unique resource for that SP dump event, and you can spend that resource on a lot of things, many things, mainly memory sets and a bunch of resources to help you level up your characters, ascend weapons, so on and so forth. So I recommend you just dump all of your daily stamina, well, actually not all, but most, if not a lot of your daily stamina into the SP dump event, and then spend the rest on story. Actually, no, story mode doesn't do that anymore. Well, that's one of the very good changes that they made. Story mode, for the most part, doesn't use stamina anymore, which is great. On the topic of the game's progression system, one thing I will say is that PGR's progression system has spoiled me, because a lot of people compare this game to Impact 3rd, and I tried getting back into Impact 3rd many times, and I have quit it like at least 4 times now, trying to get back into Impact 3rd, and it's mostly because of the game's progression system. I'm not saying that the story is bad. No, I think the story is really good. It's just trying to progress through the game and doing all the... Man, just thinking about it is making my head hurts, because I'm spoiled by PGR and how simple its progression system is, and how easy it is as well. Like, I'm an endgame player, and when a new character comes out, I can build them and have them be ready and playable day 1. Not super complicated, very fast and easy. But then again, I do have the luxury of being a long time player, and I have a bunch of resources built up. So there's that. And I don't exactly have a new player's perspective on this game, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. To summarize my thoughts on this game, I think it has really fun combat that isn't gonna be everyone's cup of tea, very free-to-play friendly, and has a very good story that has kept me around for a long time. Reverse 1999 is a game that I actually knew about way before the global release happened. First, I saw the teaser trailer for the game, and then afterwards I knew about the Chinese version, right, the CN server version of the game, and then after that, the global release, which is like, I think, close to a year behind. Right now it's catching up by a decent amount, so instead of it being a year behind, it's only like several months, if not half a year, so it's catching up. Now, what positives is there for me to say about the game that hasn't already been said before? Like how the character designs are really good, and the voice acting is also really good. And that's a thing that I really like about this game, is the fact that the voice acting is English first. Like, the default setting for the voice language is English. And that's on purpose, because the English voice acting in this game is actually really freaking good, and it also is recommended because some of the characters speak their native tongue. An example would be Anan Lee, who speaks Cantonese, and Lulia, who sneaks in a little bit of Russian in some of the words that she says, and the examples can go on. A good example would be the event stories for 1.4, where when you play through the story, you look at it from Matilda's perspective, and then she runs into Kanjira, mischief happens, and then she explores this place that she was meaning to explore. Then the statues started moving, chasing them out of said cave, and then Kalabana shows up, and you see her speaking her native tongue. Even the text is accurate to what she's saying as well. And I think that that is really cool. And that more gacha games should do that.
Yes.
Because,
Great.
well, I'm tired of hearing every character just going with the default American style accent. It gets boring, especially if you're a Hoyoverse player. And that's not me saying that the voice acting in Hoyoverse games are bad. That's very much not true. I think the voice acting is good. I just want more variety in the accents of my characters. Alright, enough about me ranting about the Hoyoverse games. Let me just get back to the point here. Reverse 1999. What do I think of it? I think it's a really good game, and one that has very strong character design and a very engaging and interesting main character as well. And that's another thing, the main character. They are their own character, and it's not just a simple self-insert. And I think that's really cool, and that more gacha games should do that. On top of that, the story revolving around the characters is also very good. It just takes a little while to ramp up. But then again, that can be said for pretty much any gacha game out there that has a good story. Punishing Grey Raven does have a good story, but only if you reach chapter 8. Fate Grand Order also has a good story, but only if you reach chapter 5. So, my advice is to just give the game some time to cook its story. It is good, you just gotta be a little patient with it. So, a TLDR on my thoughts of the game. It has a very good story with a really good, neat art style that I vibe with. Really cool character designs, really good voice acting, and good OST as well. Give it a listen, even if you don't play the game. So, I actually haven't been playing this game too much. Like, I have been playing it, I have been doing the dailies, but at one point, I think around 1.3, Fu Xuan's banner, I stopped playing the game because I just got kind of bored of it and tired of doing the weeklies specifically, and also the dailies in the game. And I got kind of burnt out on the game because, well, it was after the Hype as Hell patch that was the fight against Fantilia, and then afterwards it was the interlude, and it was just filler after filler after filler, and I just got kind of tired of it and very bored. That is until 2.0, the 2.0 announcement. That plus the free doctor ratio that you can claim if you log into the game. And so I did. I re-downloaded the game, logged back in, and got my free doctor ratio. I also pulled for his light cone as well, because why not, right? And after that, it just kind of snowballed. 2.0 came out, started playing the story, got really hooked into it. 2.1 came out, played through the story, got really hooked into it, and then 2.2, so on and so forth. And I've been able to stick with the game a whole lot better now because I've been treating it with a very different mindset. That being, just take it slow and enjoy the game. No need to do everything super fast. No need to min-max absolutely everything and everything. I took the game at a much slower pace than I had previously, and that has helped my enjoyment with the game a whole lot more. And that is mainly because I've been watching more lore videos and lore explanation videos to help me understand the story better. That way, I won't feel super lost going through like Trailblaze Continuance and specifically the main like quests of the game. And I was able to enjoy it better. Then after that, I started tackling the endgame modes that the game has, which the game has 3 that goes on rotation, that being Memory of Chaos, Pure Friction, and Apocalyptic Shadows. Those I've been enjoying a lot more now because I actually put my head down and just started grinding and grinding and grinding, taking it one step at a time. And honestly, That kind of attitude can be applied towards almost any gacha game ever. Just don't worry about meta, don't worry about finishing absolutely everything in one go. Just take your time. Take your time. Just go at it one step at a time. No need to absolutely rush everything and catch up with everyone, because that you're gonna miss out on a lot, and you will stifle your own enjoyment if you do that. I just realized I've been rambling on and on and on about my experience with this game without ever giving my proper opinions on the game. So I guess I'll say this. The character designs and music is very good, and some of the story segments and the way they incorporate music in those story segments are also really good. And the combat is fun, despite its very, very simple nature. Wuthering Waves is another one of those games that I have been following for a very long time. From the initial teaser trailer for the game, and then the technical test for the game, after that CBT 1, and then CBT 2, and all the way to the full release. And it's just a very rocky launch, which honestly, as bad as it is for me to say this, is a part of Kuro's identity, honestly. It sounds so bad, but it's so true though. Like, every game that Kuro has made has always experienced a very rocky first few weeks. But Kuro being Kuro, they listened to feedback and they fixed everything. And now everything is working a whole lot better. And I'd like to get this out of the way. The Genshin versus Wuthering Waves comparison, a lot of the times, is very biased and one-sided. Right now is not exactly a good time to be comparing the two games, mostly because Wuwa, by gacha game standards, is still very new, while Genshin has had over 4 years to mature and evolve over time. Like, I see people comparing Wuwa's story to Genshin's story, talking about how bad it is. But I argue that Genshin's first couple chapters were kind of mid. But that is a story for another time. And on the topic of stories, I think what Wuwa can benefit from for its storytelling would be foreshadowing characters ahead of times, similar to Camellia, because we've seen Camellia and we've interacted with Camellia since launch. Like at 1.0, we've seen the character, we know what she can do. And I think Wuwa should do more of that. Tease more characters who are going to be playable in the future, like how Genshin has confirmed and has been teasing that Dainsleif is playable. And I think Wuwa should have their own version of Dainsleif. Now, I'm not saying copy Genshin directly, but what I am saying is to have a character that can be playable and will be playable in the future, just not right now, but have them serve an important role in the story. The game is still very new, so I say give it more time to marinate and evolve. That plus, I trust Kuro. I know that they'll do great. The reason why I got into Zenless is very similar to Wuthering Waves. I had been following the game's development ever since the first teaser trailer and all of its subsequent beta tests. And just like Wuwa, by gacha game standards, Zenless is still very new, but it is the, dare I say, most enjoyable Hoyoverse game to play right now. Not only is the combat good, but the story as well has been very enjoyable. It's not super complicated like Honkai Impact 3rd or Star Rail stories, but it is very enjoyable. The urban sci-fi aesthetic that the game is going for is really cool, and it's very different as well compared to most gacha games that are out there right now, because there's not exactly a lot of urban style gacha games that I can think of at the top of my head. I mean, there's Project Mugen and Everness to Everness, but Project Mugen is probably cancelled, and Everness to Everness isn't released yet. A noteworthy thing about this game is the fact that it's made by an entirely new team over at MiHoYo, and they've been doing a really good job with this game. The way that they are telling the story has also been very fun as well, because not only are the CG cutscenes really good, but there are also sometimes comic cutscenes as well, and I want more of those, please. They help what would make a really boring dialogue exchange between two different characters a lot more engaging, and they can add in a lot more subtlety in the conversations the two characters are having as well, because they have a lot more freedom doing cutscenes in a comic book style than, like, two characters standing around with some slight camera changes style of character talking to each other. Another thing that I will say I love about the game is the fact that it's a skill-based game. Like, you cannot pull for any S rank and you can still perform really well with the free characters that the game gives you. Another neat thing that I like about this game is the fact that when you get a character's signature W engine and you equip said signature W engine on the character, their hair glows. And I think that's just such a cool effect. That plus the Mindscape art as well, like it I'm not gonna lie, it kind of manipulates the player's brain into wanting to pull more copies of the character just so then they can, like, show off the character's banner, right? To show their dedication and love to a particular character. So to wrap it all up, the story of the game is really good, and I love how every update has had some kind of story-related thing released, so then it isn't just story, filler, 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 story. The game's art style and vibe that it's going for is one that I jive with a lot. The character designs are also really cool as well. The art style is freaking cool. I love how for the chibi art, they decide to go for a, like, pseudo panty and stocking Powerpuff Girl style art. I think that's really cool, and it sets it apart from all of MiHoYo's other games as well.